Shabbat Shalom, everyone. That means Shabbat of peace. That means welcome. We are so fortunate tonight to have some of our regulars and also some guests from the First United Methodist Church of Grand Prairie. We have several students who are going to be confirmed later in June, excuse me. What part of the calendar are we in? It's been a long week. And we're really excited that that part of their learning process includes a visit to a Reform congregation of the Jewish faith. And we're so excited that you all are here, and we can't wait to schmooze with you. That means to hang out with you after at our dessert oneg. Just really quickly, first of all, Shabbat Shalom to those on live stream as well if you're joining us. Really quickly, just a brief security announcement. Safety and security within CBS is everyone's responsibility. In an emergency, dial 911. Please take a moment and remind yourself where the emergency exits are located and where the fire extinguishers are placed. Rear door leads to exit out the back of the building. Main entrance door leads to the parking lot. Rally point is the Beth Shalom sign at the entrance to our parking lot. If instructed to evacuate the building, please proceed to the rally point. For medical emergencies, first aid supplies are marked and located in the cabinet in room 105. There's also right back there, right next to the gentleman in the back of the room. And the automated external defibrillator, AED, is located in the hall clearly marked right near the restrooms over there. If needed, it will give you verbal directions to follow. And with that, we're going to go ahead and start by bringing in the Sabbath. All right? Our tradition is to rise if you're able as we light the candles. Yes, we're at that time of the year now where we could light the candles. Usually candle lighting time is before services. But now the sun is setting later. These are the magic candles now. And when we light the Sabbath candles, we draw on the light 3 times symbolically. Take a moment. Shabbat Shalom. We'll begin by turning to page 8. You may be seated. 8 in our prayer books for Hine Matovu Manai, meaning how wonderful it is to be here as brothers and sisters singing together. And I thought that was appropriate as we have guests here. Page 8 at the bottom. Hine Matovu Manai, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matovu Manai, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. The sun on the treetops no longer is seen. Come, gather to welcome the Sabbath, our Queen. Behold her descending, the holy, the blessed, and with her the angels of peace and of rest. Draw near, O Queen, and here abide. Draw near, O Sabbath bride. Peace be unto you, angels of peace. Please join me at the top of page 22. You'll notice if you're new to this service, this first half of the service is all about warming ourselves up for the Sabbath. We've been going, and we can't just abruptly stop. We kind of have to just warm up to the idea of rest, right? So we're going to sing different excerpts of psalms, and we'll say some of them in English, and then we'll be ready for our evening service. Page 22, Lechune Ranena. Lechune Ranena, Lechune Ranena, Lechune Ranena, Ladonai. Lechunet ranina, lechunet ranina, lechunet ranina, Ladonai. Nadria, litzud yeshenu, nekad mafana betoda. Nadria, litzud yeshenu, bizmirot nadria lo. Lechunet ranina, lechunet ranina, lechunet ranina, Ladonai. Lechunet ranina, lechunet ranina, lechunet ranina, Ladonai. And let's go ahead and either read the English or the Hebrew to ourselves, and we'll come together at the bottom of 22 in just a moment. Ki el gadol Adonai melech gadol. Adbayim shana kut bedor v'omar hamtali levavhem vehem lo yadu derachai asher nishbati v'api im yavon el menuchati. Now let's turn out to page 25, and I'll lead us responsively in the English. And you'll notice that whenever the word Lord comes up, feel free to say Lord. I choose to say Adonai because it feels more neutral when it comes to gender, and I want to make sure that I'm inclusive of that masculine and feminine side. But it's kind of a subjective thing. It's just a choice I make. So if you hear Adonai, don't be confused. You can say Lord or Adonai with me. Sing unto Adonai a new song. Sing unto Adonai all the earth. Sing unto Adonai God's name. Make known God's salvation day by day. Declare God's glory among the nations. Proclaim God's wonders among the peoples. For great is Adonai, greatly to be praised. Alone is to be praised. The gods of the heathens are worthless, but Adonai made the heavens. Splendor and majesty are before God. Strength and beauty are in God's sanctuary. Ascribe to Adonai, O families of nations. Ascribe to Adonai glory and might. Render to God the honor due God's name. Come into God's courts with a gift offering. Worship Adonai in the beauty of holiness. Stand in awe of Adonai, all the world. Declare among the nations, Adonai reigns. The world is set firm. God's justice prevails. Let the heavens rejoice and the earth be glad. Let the sea and all within it roar praise. Let the field and all within it exult. Let the trees of the forest break into song. For God comes to judge the world in righteousness, to judge the nations by divine truth. We are 4 lines from the bottom in the Hebrew on 24. Yismechu hashamayim, hashamayim, yismechu hashamayim, hashamayim, yismechu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Yismechu hashamayim, hashamayim, yismechu hashamayim, hashamayim, yismechu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Get ready to clap. Yiram hayam, yiram hayam, yiram hayam, umela. Yiram hayam, yiram hayam, yiram hayam, umela. Let's go ahead and read the English or the Hebrew to ourselves, and we'll come together in just a moment in the Hebrew. Mizmor shir l'Adonai shir chadash ki niflo tasa hoshiado. We are 6 lines from the bottom in the Hebrew, and as I've told our community on several occasions, this melody that I'm going to sing actually comes from the Jewish community of South America, Latin America. Zamru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor v'kol zimra, b'chatzotzrot v'kol shofar, ha'ariu lifnei HaMelech Adonai, yiram hayam umlo, tevel ve'yoshveva, nehad rotim with that, let's turn to page 31, and I'll lead us once again responsively in the English. Adonai reigns, let the nations tremble. Adonai sits in judgment, let the earth quake. They praise your name, O great and revered God, for it is indeed holy.
Almighty sovereign, who loves justice, you establish your world on equity. You have dealt with us in justice and righteousness.
Exalt Adonai our God, bow down before the Holy One.
When Moses, Aaron, and Samuel called to the Lord, God answered both priest and prophet.
Speaking to them from a pillar of cloud, for they kept God's statutes and the law God gave them. Exalt Adonai our God and worship at God's holy mountain, for Adonai our God is holy. So just a moment, I'll lead us in a melody that can be found the last two lines in the Hebrew on page 30. And there's a part that is easy enough for anybody to take part in, and it's just the word key. Can you try saying key? Key. Key. So I'm going to say key, and I'm going to point to you all, and you'll say key back to me. You'll know because everyone in this section will probably be doing it. So get ready. If you don't do it the first time, you'll do it the second time, all right? Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'hishachavu lehad kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'hishachavu lehad kodsho. My turn. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. My turn. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'hishachavu lehad kodsho. Somehow I think we're singing in two different keys. That was interesting and beautiful all at once. Well, so at this point in our service, we're kind of warmed up, right? But not super warmed up yet, but we've arrived at the core of our warm-up service, our Kabbalat Shabbat service, and this is the point where we actually symbolically invite the Sabbath bride, or the Sabbath queen, as we like to say, basically the Sabbath into our midst. So we're going to sing the first two verses that you find on page 38. There's a refrain at the top that we'll go back to between verses, and then after we're going to skip to the final two verses on page 40. And when we arrive at the final verse on page 40, I'll invite us, I'll use my hands, I'll just do this, and we'll face the nearest exit, because we symbolically welcome the Shabbat bride or the Shabbat queen into our midst. And at that point, we feel like, it's starting to feel more like Shabbat, the Sabbath. All right? And why don't we sing a more traditional melody? I know there's so many melodies to this text, but this is a beloved melody in our community here. It goes like this. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Shamhod v'zachod b'divor echad, ishmi'anu el hamiuchad. Adonai echad u'shmo echad, l'shemo tiferet v'litchila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki mekod haberacha, merosh mikedem nesucha. Sof maaseh b'makshava techila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Bella 40. Yaminu smol tifrotzi, Beit Adonai tarvitzi, Ayadish bein parzi, Venismecha venagila, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekavela, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekavela, Bohi v'shalom ateret bala, Gam b'simcha u'v'tzola, Toch emunei am segula, Bohi chala, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekavela, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekavela. You may be seated. Well, now that Shabbat is here, we sing a song to her. And let's look at page 43. I'll lead us responsively once again in the English. It is good to thank you, Adonai, to sing praises to your exalted name. To the sound of the 10-string lyre with voice and the music of the harp. Your works are mine, of your deeds I sing with joy. How great are your deeds, Adonai? How profound are your designs? Though the wicked may thrive like grass and doers of evil seem to flourish, those who oppose you will perish. The workers of iniquity will be routed. I see the defeat of my foes. I hear the doom of my enemies. Planted in the house of Adonai, they will flourish in the courts of our God. Proclaiming that Adonai is just, my rock, in whom there is no unrighteousness. Please join me 4 lines from the bottom of the Hebrew. Tzadik katamari frach ke'eres ba'evadon yiske shetulim beveit Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu Yafrichu od yenuvun beseva deshenim merananim iyu lahagid ki yashar Adonai Suri Velo Avlatavo. As you can hear, the harmonies practically write themselves here. Leah, thank you for harmonizing. This, for me, is really special because this melody was written by one of the greats of our Jewish musical tradition, Louis Lewandowski, and he was known for some of the most incredible Jewish choral works. So when I hear some of our congregants harmonizing, it harkens to this beautiful time when Louis Lewandowski composed beautiful music. Well, we're going to close out this service, Kabbalat Shabbat, on page 44. You can either look at the English or the Hebrew will come together in just a moment. עדותיך נאמנו מאוד לביתך בקודש, אדוני לאורך ימים. And with that, we are warmed up. We're ready to take the Sabbath in hold it in our heart and relax a little bit. And we do so by calling ourselves to worship for our evening service, our Ma'ariv service. In that word, you hear the word Erev, the same shorish for Erev, evening. And for this part of the service, for this page 50, I invite us to rise. If we're able, health always comes first, and we'll face eastward to our ark. You'll notice some choreography too here. Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. You may be seated. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, whose word brings on the dusk of evening. May you rule over us as you rule over nature. Praised are you, Adonai, who brings the evening dusk. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. We turn to page 52 and we sing Ahavat Olam, all about God's great love for humanity. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael amcha ahavta Torah mitzvot hukim mishpatim otanu limadeta al kein Adonai Eloheinu v'shachmeinu v'kumeinu nasiach bechukecha ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגע יומם ועבדך תסיר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. And a few moments ago I mentioned to our visitors that mezuzah contains within it Shema, the watchword of our people, this proclamation that there's one God and one God only in our tradition. And we've come to that part of our service. And you'll notice some people rise, some people stay seated, depending on their tradition for this part. We're on page 54. If it's your custom, please rise. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. You may be seated. Ve'avta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'otecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom levavecha ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ולכתך בדרך ובשוכבך וקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידך והיית דפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. We take a few moments to pray in either the Hebrew or the English, and we'll meet up on page 58 or 59 in the English just a few moments. Adonai Elohechem emet. Let's turn to page 61, and I'll lead us once again in the Hebrew responsively. True and certain it is that there is one God, incomparable, and that we, the household of Israel, are God's people. Great are the things which God has done, with wonders which are without number. May God continue to protect our people and guard all humankind from disaster. They accepted God's sovereignty willingly and sang in joyous thanksgiving. Who is like you, Adonai, among the mighty? Who is like you, glorious in holiness, revered in praises, doing wonders? This is my God, they exclaimed and said, Adonai shall reign forever and ever. Praised are you, Adonai, Redeemer of Israel. We are 6 lines from the bottom in the Hebrew on page 60. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef ele, malchutecha ra'uvanecha, bokiyam ifnei Moshe, ze'ilianu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch le'olam ba'et, v'ne'emar kifad Adonai et Yaakov, ugi'a lo mi'ad chazak mimenu baruch atah Adonai, Ga Yisrael. Well, let's turn to page 62 and 63, and let's pray in the language of our choice, and we'll come together in the last, just in a couple moments for the last 2 lines in the Hebrew. O guardian of Israel, who neither slumbers nor sleeps, shelter us and our people in your tabernacle of peace. Please join me the last 2 lines in the Hebrew. Ufros aleinu sukat, sukat, shelomecha, ufros aleinu sukat, sukat, shelomecha, baruch atah Adonai, apores sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. We pick up the pace a little bit on page 64 with Veshamru. This is all about the 6 days of creation happened, and then on the 7th day, God rested, and this is a really joyous thing for us. Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat. Don't ask. La'asot et HaShabbat le'dorotam berit olam. Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat. La'asot et HaShabbat le'dorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam, oti le'olam, oti le'olam. Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et לעשות את השבת. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם וביום השביעי שבת וינפש שבת וינפש שבת וינפש ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת ברית עולם. That is a beloved melody in many, many communities, and it was coincidentally written by my childhood rabbi, Rabbi Moshe Rothblum, out in Los Angeles. Yes?
Kendra, I think you ought to explain to them that we are not really crazy.
I don't actually know why this started in this congregation, so maybe you can explain, Martine.
Once upon a time, when we were much younger, what we did during that was instead of arms raised, you'd squat down and jump up.
Well, the kids did that.
Well, yes,
And they jump down and then we're fucking.
yeah.
I think the kids are growing up. We just
We're
do
all old and we got that.
To avoid injury, I guess. Well, beautiful adaptation.
this. To jump down and get up.
Thank you for sharing that. I sounds familiar. Maybe someone did explain that to me when I moved here. Anyway, we turn now to page 66, and this is called a Chatzi Kaddish. It means a half Kaddish. And anytime we have a Kaddish, it's usually separating one part of a service to the next. It's kind of a transition point. So we are leaving the world of the Shema, the watchword of our people and Shema's blessings, and we're heading into a silent evening meditation in just a moment. 66. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה כריתי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי כל בית ישראל, בגלה בגלה, ובזמן קריב ימרו אמן, יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעלה ולעמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי תקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא וימרו amen. And by the way, trivia, if anyone ever asks, Kaddish is not in Hebrew. Anyone know what language it's in? Aramaic. It's kind of a sister language to Hebrew. Well, at this point, we turn to our silent evening Amidah, or silent evening meditation, if you will. It extends from page 69 through 77. I invite you to either look at the words in the Hebrew or the English, or just close the book and have a beautiful conversation with God. And it's our custom to rise if we're able for this portion of our service. And it's also our custom to face east. So we'll go ahead and do that, and we'll come together at the end for a prayer for peace. you're still davening or praying, please take your time. There's no rush. When you've completed your praying, your davening, you may take a seat. Prayer for Peace, page 76. Say shalom b'mramav, say shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'meru amen. At this point, we pause and we say a prayer for healing, for all those in need of healing, of body, mind, spirit, all of the above. Let's turn to the inside back cover of our prayer book, our Siddur, and you'll see a melody which was written by the great Debbie Friedman, who's one of our great composers. And we'll go ahead and sing that first paragraph on the page, and then we'll pause. I'll read our synagogue list for healing. And if you have anyone else that you'd like to add to our list, please do so at that point. And then we'll close with the second stanza of the melody. Mi sheberach avotenu mekol habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. This week we're praying for Jordan Zadwick, Elia Alina Batania, Lori Sherwin, Neil Schneider, Paris Bass, Sheila Batfay, Hi Siegel, Jeff Rothschild, Linda Licker, Betsy Jacobson, Kenny Jacobson, Sherwin Rubin, Cynthia Kern, George Fleischman, Myrna Ryder. I'll start on this side of the room. If you have a name to add, please let me know. Yes, Betsy.
Kay Reed,
Yes, Martine.
Cindy Curry, and Edward Yates.
Hockey Bornstein.
Warren Roman and Eddie Marshall. Tina Harden.
Thank you. Any other names? Do you know of anybody who's sick or in need of healing in any way?
George Sanchez.
Beautiful. Thank you. Any other names?
Annette Weed.
Thank you. Thank you. You'll notice that some of our names are in Hebrew, some are in English. We believe that God understands any language that we include the names in. Well, please join me. We're also praying for those who were injured in Israel and Palestine and in many all the places where catastrophes happen this week. We're praying for all of their healing. Please join me, the second paragraph, the back of the Siddur. Mi sheberach imotenu mekol habracha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. May they all be remembered for healing, and let us say, Amen. We close this section on page 86 with Kaddish Shalem. This is a full Kaddish. יתקרא ויתקרא שמי רבה, ויאמר תברך גדותי וימליך מלכותי בחיי חוני ומכון בחיי לכל בית ישראל, ועגליו יזמן קרי ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך, ולבלב מעמיה. It barak vishabak vipa'ad vitrambina sevita dad visavitalosh medikunishabrihu le'et hamikom bechata v'shidata tush bechata v'nechemata da'amiran v'yamavi meru amen tit kabal tzadachon v'tachon decho Yisrael kol damohoni v'shmaya v'meru amen yehi shlomo min shemaya v'chaim alim v'al kol Yisrael v'meru amen Ose shalom b'imomav hu yaseh shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel be'imeru. Amen. Shabbat shalom. I'd like to start this portion of our service by asking a question. What do you think of when you think of Jerusalem? Jerusalem. Yerushalayim in Hebrew. What do you think of?
The old city,
The old city, beautiful.
Western Wall.
The Western Wall. What else do you think of? Just call them out. Nothing formal about this. Holy. I love it. Yes. What else do you think of? History. Beautiful. Sacred. I love that word. It's one of my favorite words. Sunlight. Beautiful. Oh, when you say that, I think of the sun on the Jerusalem stone. So beautiful. Ah. Yes. Shopping. Oh my gosh. Yes, shopping indeed. I think of hummus, guys. I think about the food. What else do we think of? Anything else? What else comes to mind? History. Rich history. Beautiful. All right. Well, for me, Jerusalem is a place of coexistence and beauty, controversy and struggle. It's a melting pot and also a place of great unity, lined with synagogues and churches, mosques. For me, Jerusalem is godly, sacred, the heart of the world. The aromas call to me. Fresh pitas or bagelech. Has anyone ever seen the bagelech? They're like these really elongated bagels, and they serve them with za'atar. Za'atar is this delicious spice with sesame seeds and salt, and they roll the spice up in this little piece of newspaper, which not the most sanitary thing in the world, but hey, you're in Israel, you have to do it. You open the newspaper and you dip the bagelech pieces in it. It's so good. The exotic sense of spices and falafel, halva, and rugelach. It's the sound of Muslim calls to prayer and wailing at the Western Wall. When I think of Jerusalem, my heart skips a beat as I remember the way my breath was taken away with emotion the first time my hand touched that wall. When I think of Jerusalem, my mouth waters, as I mentioned, at the thought of fresh vegetables dipped in homemade hummus. Borekas, if you don't know what a boreka is, look it up. It's delicious. Olive oil, olives, mountains of spices, literally mountains of spices, and Turkish coffee. It's the mysterious, narrow cobblestone roads of the old city, whose walls have seen countless pages of history written. I have yet to find another city as special as Jerusalem, Yerushalayim, although Arlington is a close second. Today was Yom Yerushalayim, Jerusalem Day, a relatively new holiday on the Jewish calendar. In fact, it's so new that there are not yet many traditions even associated with the holiday. Liturgically speaking, during the morning service that would have happened this morning, some have started reciting Hallel, psalms of praise, to celebrate such a momentous place. This holiday commemorates the unification of Jerusalem and the establishment of Israeli control over the Old City in 1967. It's a day when Israel stops to celebrate the victorious outcome of the Six-Day War, and a time when we reflect upon the fact that after 2,000 years of saying, next year in Jerusalem, we can actually celebrate in Jerusalem. For Jews, Jerusalem is a place of our origins, the location of our sacred temple, what used to be the center of Jewish life. It's the place where King David established the capital, and it's where the prophet Isaiah proclaimed the Messiah will arrive. It's the place that has felt sacred, and it has served as a haven from danger to so many of our people following atrocities such as the Holocaust. It's a place so many of us have always called home and hold close to our hearts. And we know It's a special place for others. For Christians, Christians believe Jesus spent many important moments of his life in Jerusalem. And the site, which is now known as the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, is where Jesus was said to ascend to heaven. For Muslims, Jerusalem is also sacred, as it's one of the 3 places Muhammad inspired his followers to visit, along with Mecca and Medina, which both, of course, are in Saudi Arabia. The Quran tells the story of Muhammad taking a night journey from the sacred mosque in Mecca to the furthest mosque, which is in Jerusalem. And it is there where he ascended to heaven to see the signs of God. Jerusalem is not just important to the 3 monotheistic religions, right? Judaism, Christianity, Islam. The Armenians sought refuge in Jerusalem following the Armenian genocide in the early 20th century. Hence, there are 4 quarters in the old city of Jerusalem: the Jewish, the Christian, the Arab or Muslim, and the Armenian quarter. And Jerusalem, of course, is special to historians, students, people of all ages and walks of life. Jerusalem is a marvel. I would be remiss if I did not mention that Jerusalem, this tiny piece of land which has so much meaning for so many of us, is a hotspot. Especially, we saw this week in the news, right? Filled with controversy and disagreement. For many, Jerusalem is a religious capital, but is it recognized by everyone? There are many opinions and points of view. Who should claim the land? Everyone has an opinion, which is beautiful, yet complicated. My aim is not to answer these age-old questions, but to celebrate what I think is one of the most spectacular places in the world. Jerusalem means city of peace, and those who are familiar with Hebrew will see that within the word Jerusalem is the shoresh, or root, shalem. Shin, lamed, memor, the 3 letters that make up that root. These 3 letters make up the word for peace in every sense of the word: wholeness, tranquility. My friends, I think we can learn a lot from the name of this sacred speck on the map. We know we live in a world where we go a mile a minute and sometimes approach each other with fists up or invisible walls around us, usually out of fear of what's different. With rising levels of hate crimes toward different religious and racial groups and toward those on the beautiful LGBTQ+ spectrum, I think it's important that tonight we turn to the wisdom of Jerusalem. While the media portrays constant tension and violence in Jerusalem, I will say, speaking from my experience of living in the heart of Jerusalem for a year, this does not accurately describe the Jerusalem I experienced, this place that I often call the land of my dreams. It's a place where peaceful coexistence really does exist. And many Jews and Muslims and Christians do take time to learn about each other and respect each other's religious differences. During my year in Jerusalem, I opted to attend an ulpan. An ulpan is an intensive Hebrew language program where there were not just Jewish students, but also Arab students. One of the highlights for me personally was getting to know my Arab classmates, meeting their families on Fridays when I would walk through the old city, the Muslim quarter, and baking special traditional treats for each other when we were celebrating our respective holidays. I vividly remember buying falafel for my friend Muhammad and hummus from an elderly man in the Muslim quarter each week. I won't deny that Jerusalem does have its share of problems, and there is tension, and there is ignorance, and at times there is some violence. But doesn't that sound like any city we know, Arlington or Grand Prairie included? I believe the spirit of Jerusalem, Yerushalayim, is shalem, salam, peace. How special it is that we have the privilege of sharing this sacred space with our neighbors from the First United Methodist Church of Grand Prairie, when we're celebrating Jerusalem, a place that embodies the wish and dream for peaceful coexistence and is called a city of peace. I think this coincidence is ordained by God. Confirmands, if I could tell you anything about our Jewish tradition, it would be that we're rooted in love and understanding and acceptance of those around us. We embrace our tradition and celebrate in the joy our neighbors reap from their tradition. It's a big world. There's a lot of ignorance and hatred, but they're rooted in fear of the unknown, fear of what is different. But friendships, understanding based on differences, education, openness, and gratitude for what is different, those are the things that break down the walls of hatred and change the world for the better. I know in our tradition, being confirmed means making a strong commitment to our faith and also making a commitment to the world around us. In Judaism, we believe in leaving the world in better condition than we found it originally. I suspect your tradition teaches similar. Please know you have a home here at Beth Shalom. We're your friends and interfaith partners. We hope you'll feel free to ask questions during the oneg, the dessert reception after services, and that you'll come and visit us again sometime. We hope to do the same with you all, as we believe interfaith work is holy, sacred, and has ripple effects that go far beyond our reach. Tonight, as we move further into the Sabbath, and as our confirmands from First United Methodist Church journey toward their confirmation ceremony, may we take with us the blessing of Jerusalem, the blessing of peace, peaceful coexistence, the understanding that it is our differences and our openness and understanding of each other which make this world so special. Baruch atah Adonai, blessed are you, Master of all things, who brings together people from all walks of life to dwell and pray together in your sacred city of Jerusalem. May your love inspire us to always choose peace and to rally around our neighbors, celebrating our differences. So, with that, we're going to move back to our Siddur prayer book. We're going to turn to page 90. And as I mentioned earlier, what sanctifies the moment for us is the grape juice or the wine. So I'm going to invite us to rise if we're able for the blessing over the wine, Kiddush, page 90. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava u'b'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron le'maaseh v'reishit ki hu yom tekilah le'mikra'ei kodesh zecher l'yetziat Mitzrayim ki banu v'acharta ve'otanu kidasha mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha ve'ahava u'ratzon hinchatanu baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. L'chaim, to life. Please remain standing if you're able. Before we go to Aleinu, we're in this period called the counting of the Omer. We count the days between Passover, our spring festival, all the way to our festival of Shavuot, which actually occurs later on this week. And it's this really monumental moment where we receive our Torah, right? Really important set of books for us. So each day we acknowledge which day that we're counting of the Omer. There's a lot more to it, but that's just in a nutshell. We're going to just quickly hold one finger on page 118, because that's where we're going to go in just a minute, 118, and then hold another. Let's turn back to page 732. I'll quickly recite the blessing over the counting of the Omer, and then I'll announce which day it is. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat haomer. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who has taught us the way of holiness through the mitzvot, or the commandments, and enjoined upon us the counting of the Omer. And I'll say the number in Hebrew here. Hayom arba'a ve'arba'im yom shehem shisha shevuot ushne yamim la'omer. That was a long way of saying it's the 44th day of the Omer, right? We're counting 49 days, and on the 50th day is when we receive the Torah for Shavuot. Let's turn to page 118. We are already facing in the right direction for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon ha'ol l'atid l'yotzev reishit shelo atzayim ha'aratzot velo sobanim k'mishpachot ha'adam shelo sa'akim ha'em v'gol aleinu k'chol ha'amonam v'anachnu holim u'mishachavim u'modim v'fnei Shehunut Hashamayim ve'yosel ha'aretz v'moshe v'karo b'shamayim ima'o v'shrinat tuzo v'gol be'me'omim u'eloheinu Eino Elokeinu efes u'mato kakatu b'tonato v'tatayom v'tatayom v'hasherota elevavecha ki Adonai ha'elohim b'shamayim ima'al v'aretz v'aretz mitachat einod einod al כן נגלה לך אדוני ונאמר והיה אדוני במלך הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו echad. You may be seated. I just wanted to welcome the Sudbury family back to Beth Shalom following the passing of Pam's father, Brian Harnick. Please know that we are with you and you're not walking this walk alone. And if there's anything we can do to support you at this time, let us know. And Mazel Tov, Benny. Thank you for serving our country. And Mazel Tov to you, Chloe, on another school year. And we're very excited to celebrate you this upcoming year as well. Well, this week we are observing the following yahrzeits. Yahrzeit, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, is an anniversary of a passing. We always announce names of those that we're remembering. Thelma Sobel, mother of Felice Silverberg. Howard Coleman, Uncle Fran Weiger. Leah Guetta, mother of Dina Lindell. Barbara Jacobs, cousin of Cookie Kabikoff. Eleanor Gordon, grandmother of Lani Aldaba. And Evelyn Kabikoff, aunt of Phil Kabikoff. Are there any other names that should be on this list? Yes, Bess.
Barbara Baxter Meisner, my cousin, she died on Tuesday.
I'm so sorry for your loss. Thank you for being here to lift her memory. Thank you. Any other names that should be on this list? And then Mourner's Kaddish can be found on page 124. All those in mourning, remembering loved ones, or if it's your custom, I invite you to rise. Hit Gadal Veit Kadash Shemei Rabbah Be'alma Divra Kirute Ve'amlich Malchute B'chayechon U'vyomechon U'v'chayei Dechol Beit Yisrael Ba'gala U'vizman Karib Meru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevarach Le'alam U'lamei Almaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitramam V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitale V'yitalal Shmei Dekudsha Brichu Le'ila Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tush Bechata V'nechemata Damiran Be'alma V'imru Amen. Hei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chayim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom Imramav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May their memories all be for a blessing, and let us say, Amen. You may be seated. Do we have a board representative here tonight? I saw that our board representative is here. Anyone on the board like to give announcements tonight? Sure, Pam. Why don't you come on up and give us some announcements? You've heard enough from me. Here, you can use this one. It's right here. Shabbat bulletin. That's what I call it. I don't know if it's the official.
I don't know. Okay, what do we have going on? Sunday is our last day of religious school, correct? So one, thank you everybody for coming here tonight, and thank you, Canna, for leading us so beautifully, and thank you for joining us tonight. We actually have a couple of children from our confirmation class, which is on June 5th. June 2nd. I knew I had my days close. Oh, there it is, Friday Night Live. So we do our confirmation service as well in a couple of weeks. So congratulations to the confirmation students and to our confirmation students as well. Normal meetings and such, so I won't go through all that. Key things, Friday at 9 a.m. is our Shavuot service, and since it's during the week, I know it's always hard to, get a minyan, so please, if you can, if you're available, to come join us at 9 a.m. on Friday. On Sunday, May 28th, is another big thing Barry Schneider talked about last week at Shabbat services, is the Jewish War Veterans Memorial Day service, which is at Ahavat Shalom in Fort Worth. So please attend that. They do read the names of all of the Jewish war veterans who have passed, so it's very moving ceremony. Thursday, we have our monthly Spill the Tea as well, and we discussed the confirmation class on June 2nd. There are a couple of big events as well, which are in your little leaflet on the side. On Sunday, June 4th, CBS Brotherhood is having another breakfast series, and the documentary and the producer, I think it's the producer or the creator, will be here as well, so it'll be very interesting, and please RSVP for that. And next Saturday evening at 7:30, our Sylvia Gray Chave Room group, which is for our Young at Heart members. We have our big nifty 50s and 60s groovy party. So please let Ellen know if you will be attending that. But that is all these parties are always a lot of fun. Okay, Ellen.
It is really going to be a lot of fun. It's great music. We have nostalgic 1950s and 60s food. There'll be a lot of surprises. People are now sending in photos of themselves from when they were a teenager, and it's very cool to look at them. We're making a big monitor display. There's going to be a prize to see who can guess who everybody is. It's really going to be a great evening, and I hope that all of you will attend. You can all come too. You need to RSVP to the office, and you need to send me a picture. Just take a picture with your, if I can do it, anybody can do it. You take a picture of a picture with your phone. A lot of people are sending in yearbook pictures, and then you email it or send it to me and click actual size. So it has the best resolution. I'm not sure what that means, but that's what's in the prayer. So I hope to see all of you there, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Well, we're going to move to conclude our service on page 16 with Shalom Aleichem. This is a beautiful text about the angels which accompany us home on the Sabbath. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Yon, Mimelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachim Nishalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Yon, Mimelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruch Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzidchem leShalom, Malachi Shalom, Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech Malachi Hamelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shabbat Shalom, hey, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, hey, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Let's close with a quick blessing over the challah bread. And then I invite you to join us in the social hall for some dessert. All right?
Voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Not to get your job or anything, but it's just that. So you'll come to see it without you. Get a night off.
So I'm in that would be, I'm too old for that. We had started these, so she can tour our transition. I want to get her to my well, actually, I love that you bring. Oh, I saw. So, although I don't know.
to run over, so.
Thank you so much. Yes, we'll have to. Thank you.
It's, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,